Welcome, everybody, to Therapists Supporting Therapists. I am Michelle Lundstrom, and I am here with Shamila Tureen. And she is a social worker and a mental health therapist and an amazing human being and advocate and so many other things. And so she is also a college professor, and she has a private practice. Welcome, Shamila.
Hi, how are you, Michelle?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for being on here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm excited to talk to you.
Now, I met you in Austin, Texas many, many years ago.
Years ago, yeah. It doesn't feel like that long ago, but it was.
Yeah, it really was. And so now I'm in Iowa and you're in Maryland, DC area.
So I grew up in this area. So after grad school, I came back here. And so I've been here about, oh my gosh, 10 years.
Wow.
Oh, time flies.
Oh man, we're aging ourselves. Okay, so you're in Maryland and I know Maryland and DC, there's some shelter in place orders.
Yes.
And can you tell us how you're navigating supporting clients while sheltering in place at home?
And it's really interesting, Michelle. Like, I'm busier now than I was before this whole COVID thing started. I think that people slowed down and were like, you know what, I need help with my anxiety and my feelings of grief and loss of my daily routine in life. And so a lot of people have been reaching out on email, on phone, asking for sessions. And it's been really interesting to talk to people when they're homebound and to see what is going on and what's coming up. And I've got, I think, everything from, yeah, I'm feeling really grateful and, life is good, to like severe panic attacks and like life is over and I feel like the walls are closing in on me. And so I think I'm dealing with everything on the whole spectrum and gamut of things. And, with Maryland law being like you can only come out for like, the essentials, which is like grocery store, banks, gas stations, that's it, pharmacies, and liquor stores for some reason. That's really important. um, I think people are really noticing themselves,
Mhm.
having to face themselves for the first time. They can't distract themselves with all the things they've distracted with before. And it's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. And I've been having a lot of that too, people reaching out, and I'm busier than ever and more exhausted than ever.
Definitely. It's so interesting. Like, we were saying before, we've both done telehealth before, but for some reason doing telehealth back to back or like all day is really exhausting. And I think it's because we're trying to like hold space for them and also gauge where they're at and keep the session flowing. And we're face to face but not face to face. And so it's I've seen people's cats. People have been like, hold on, I've got to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. And like, it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. It's also interesting in my living room to have people in my space. Like, this is my shelter to get away from my work and kind of decompress. And now they're all here with me.
Yeah, that's a big shift and a big change. And it does take a lot more. And you make a good point that when we are focused on reading body language and, reading a person over a video takes a little bit more energy.
Yeah, it definitely does, especially if the person is feeling kind of shut down
Hmm.
and they're calling because they know they have a set appointment, but they're not really wanting to talk, and they're kind of like, I've just been in the house and everything is blah blah blah. So like trying to like get that going and probing and talking a little bit about that is like, it's hard. I feel like I've done a lot more mindfulness and grounding techniques with a lot of people, and then I've also gotten some pushback. I had a client tell me the other day, you can't tell me that this is my anxiety, this is my grief, and I am allowed to grieve. And I said, you're absolutely right, you're absolutely allowed to grieve. And we talked a little bit about grief being like waves and like, coming and going. And then she's like, but they can't go yet because we don't know what's going to happen.
Hmm.
And so, I'm just trying to respect where each person's at in their journey and try to be holding that space for them. But yeah, maybe the Blu-rays from the computer or the phone are a lot for our eyes, but I don't know about you, but I'm really tired after like all
Yeah,
day of telehealth.
I am. I need to get an optometrist on here to give us some tips.
I know. Yeah. And I feel like having to get up and walk and come back is so much more important, more than ever, because like I feel like I'm just doing one session after another with the same view and the same thing happening.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that change of scenery.
Yeah. Yeah. There is none right now.
Yeah. So you have an amazing history with change and one of hope and adapting to change. Can you tell us a little bit more about you and maybe give us some tips for adapting to change since you are so resilient?
Oh, thank you. So the basic story that about me is that when I was 12, I'm adopted, and when I was 12, my biological parents took me by force to live in Pakistan, and I lived there for 6 years by force. It was not my choice to live there, and I was an American kid who was in 7th grade, who was like preteen, and I ended up going into like a very, very, very strict family situation where like it was covering your face and not allowed to move without a chaperone, and like just the rules were 180 degrees different.
Mhm.
So what I learned, and this is something that I've been noticing that keeps coming up for me when I'm talking to clients, is that um, you create your own way of coping by being super creative. And like what I remember doing back then was like if somebody had like, I didn't have, I went to Pakistan and all my stuff was taken from me, right? Because it was all American stuff. So I
Mhm.
ended up with like 3 pairs of underwear, a jar of Noxzema, and like my new like life. That was it. So I had to like learn like things to do and things to keep myself occupied. And it's kind of like almost like you're in solitary confinement in a way, but like it's so much better right now because we have Wi-Fi and we have like and stuff. But
Yeah.
like things I've been noticing is like creating my own routine every day has been really important. If I don't do it, I will be wrecked.
Mm.
And I think that I learned that back then over there, like it would be really hot, like 110 degrees. And, everybody's like doing things that don't make sense to me and I don't understand, but I'm like trying to go with it and try to like, okay, I'm gonna wake up at this time, I'm gonna make my bed, I'm gonna do this, then I'm gonna do that. Okay, now there's a book there. I saw that book, I'm gonna try to read that book to just gain some knowledge. Okay, then I'm gonna exercise a little bit, then I'm gonna do this. Like that's what I did as an 8th or 9th grader. So I feel like it's sort of coming back again. I'm like, but in a different way as an
Yeah.
adult. So it's actually much better. Like I can, call you on Zoom and stuff. Like that was just pre-internet, so I couldn't talk to anyone, and I wasn't allowed to talk to anyone. Was the other thing. So for me, this is like actually like I've been saying forever. Gosh, I need a vacation from my vacation. It's here.
It's here. It has arrived.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And those are really great tips for coping with change and the similarities that you're feeling, even though there's a lot more differences as far as being able to connect with people and have more freedom to make your own choices.
Yeah, I mean, last night I was bored and I was like, you know, I really don't like this feeling. I'm starting to feel antsy. And I was like, you know what? My apples are going bad. I'm gonna make apple bread. Uh, my roommate had bought a whole bunch of beets and she's not eating them. I was like, I'll make beet chips. It's like just doing things. It's not like that it's going to cure everything. The other thing I've been really conscious about is not going online to read the statistics and the numbers. And I'm so glad we don't have TV. We only have Netflix and Hulu. So I'm not like glued to CNN. And I feel like the more I talk to clients who are freaking out, it's usually because the news is like inundating them and I feel like being in my own space for the work that I have to do means that I need to conserve what's coming in and what I'm putting out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I've noticed that too. People that are taking in a lot of the news and hearing the mixed messages, and it creates a lot of confusion and anxiety and
Yeah.
fear. in
Yeah.
people, and being able to kind of just check in with science now and then, and know what we need to do, and make our own choices. Like, I'm making the choice to be at home and flatten the curve. I'm not in a stay in place order, but I'm
Right.
making that choice because that's what's aligned for me.
Yeah.
And so being able to have just enough information to make an educated, informed choice for ourselves, but also not overloading ourselves with all of that.
Definitely. That's you said that so well. Like, some people I know are like just follow like what the World Health Organization is saying or what the CDC is saying, and that's it. Like, don't go down the rabbit hole of Google and just start like being like, okay, so my eyes are red. Does that mean I have it? Oh my God, I coughed. Does that mean I have it? Like, there's some things that I've just learned that are beyond our control.
Mhm.
And you just, like you said, you stay home, flatten the curve, do what you can. And then the rest, like you just wait it out. You just have to wait it out. And I know for a lot of people, when things aren't in their control, they start to really get upset. But for me, I feel like I'm so used to things that haven't been in my control. Like, I'm just like, okay, it's one more thing. Let's deal with it. Let's roll.
Yeah, I wonder sometimes if the real virus that's happening in our culture in the United States is fear and uncertainty, and being able to cope with that fear.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the other thing people are worried about is money. And obviously, if you're losing your job and you don't know where your next paycheck is coming from, that is very scary. But I
Mhm.
also have people I know who are, who are well-to-do enough and are still like, oh my God, my stocks. Oh my God, like what's gonna happen? Oh my God, the Dow Jones. And I'm like, not the time to worry about that, my friend. But that's what they're used to. That's just the way life has been. So I feel like every generation has something that they're like, what happened? Where were you when that happened? And so
Mhm.
for this generation, this is the big, hopefully unifying thing. Although I understand that for different classes and different races, it's a different experience. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So we want to hear a little bit more about your experience on your end. And I know that you are an expert at working with first generation immigrants. And I was just curious if there's any obstacles that you've been experiencing, or any tips that you have for therapists that are working with first generation immigrants during the switch to telehealth.
It's been interesting. There's been some pushback and some resistance. Um, what I'm also noticing is that all of my first generation clients are telling me that their parents are not listening to them, and are just doing the parent thing and are just like, whatever, I've lived through so much, this isn't going to get me. Um, so I've definitely noticed that working on patience is huge, and just like holding space. Sometimes all you can really do is hold space for like all the intense fears that are coming up for people. I think a lot of first generation women in particular are like, okay, so if this happens, I need to plan that, I need to plan that, I need to plan that. And it's like, okay, breathe, ground yourself. Where are you right now? Like, there's a lot of, what's going to happen to my family if this continues for another month or two. So, I mean, I can't make it better for them. I can't fix what's going on, but I can share my own personal experiences about, like, yes, I have parents that don't listen also. Yes, they're not quite sure why I'm suddenly telling them what to do. And yes, we are all worried about our families and, what's going to happen to them. I think another thing that I'm noticing is that there's either apathy or panic. There's not like a sort of like concern, like a nice concern. So I'm trying to work with the people who are apathetic to be safer and the people who are panicked to be more calm. So
Yeah, moving into the middle of that spectrum.
yeah, yeah. And I think um, if lived in other cultures, then, when I was 15, there was a bomb blast in my neighborhood and my house shook. So this thing does not scare me like that, you know? Um, Refugees pouring into my country because there's a war next door, like, that kind of stuff. I'm used to that. Um, so I think some of my first generation clients have lived through things like that or understand that kind of stuff because their parents told them about it. So
Mhm.
they have a little bit more of a coping mechanism with it that perhaps others don't.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, fear gets translated into this instead of panic or apathy, when you've lived through big things, you shift to fear becomes an invitation almost to have a new awareness or to learn about yourself in a deeper way.
Yeah, I think that going inwards thing is hard for a lot of people right now.
Yeah, it really is. And I know, for myself, my time living in Africa and some of my experiences helped me to get a different perspective and shift some of that and have that awareness that a little 19-year-old girl. And
Yeah.
then in July, I got hit by lightning. And I don't know if I told
Oh,
you
that
this.
you tell me that, no.
So I was struck by lightning through a window, which is a very rare, odd thing. But one of the things I notice when I tell people, there's different reactions. And people that have an experience personally with dealing with fear tend to like have more compassion for me and be like, oh my gosh, wow, like you just did, right? But people that maybe um, don't have some of that background will like I feel like I'm instilling a ton of fear in them and I don't want to,
Yeah, yeah,
right? And so, because of my background, I saw that fear that I felt, right? Like I'm like, well, something bad just happened, so I deal with it because that's what I do.
right.
And then, I've had some consequences and I'm dealing with those and I'm navigating life and the changes and the adjustments to that. And also, right, that I don't have to live in fear of this happening again.
Yeah,
It might,
yeah,
but it happened once and I'm okay.
yeah,
Like in today, in this moment, correct? Because when we can be in right now, and right now I'm okay. Yes, bad things have happened to me, but right now I'm okay.
yeah. When you share that with, do you ever self-disclose to clients about that?
About the lightning?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, I have.
Do they have like a sense of I could take something from that and form some sort of like resilience for myself if my therapist has experienced that? Or is it more like, I don't really care, listen to me, I have to tell you about me?
I work with a lot of really empathic clients. My specialty is in working with empaths and intuitives, and a lot of military people that have been through a lot of trauma. So
Mhm.
since I have that base, I tend to be surprised how much my clients care about me sometimes.
Oh,
And so
okay.
it really touched me how many of them just really cared about me. And but there were others who didn't dismiss it but went into their own fear. And it
Mm,
was very therapeutic because I was able to work with them on developing some resiliency. So I do self-disclose that in order to help kind of build some of that. Like, yes, that happened to me and I'm okay.
yeah, yeah. I think that you're very wise in knowing how to bring in the self-disclosure to get people to like kind of build resilience. And wow, like what a thing to share with people and be like, so I lived through this and I'm okay right now. um, One of my clients and I were talking last week, and I was like, I think personally, and this is just me, that if you've been through like really bad stuff as a little kid and you had no one to talk to and no resources and no help, there's nothing worse than that.
Yeah.
Like now as an adult, like you have all these people to connect to, you've got people in your corner, you know where to go for help, you know who to call. It's so much better than being like small and confused and not understanding and having no resources and locked in panic, right? And being told on top of that sometimes like stop panicking, just be quiet and don't react.
Mhm.
So I'll say to clients sometimes the worst thing has already happened,
Yeah.
and they find that very interesting. They'll pause. I'm like, whoa. And like you said, it could happen again, but right now you're okay, and the likelihood is not that high, and you're still smiling on camera.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So what is it like for you as you're supporting clients and students, because I know you're also a professor, while
Mhm.
you're also experiencing the all the changes in life and experiencing the pandemic as a human being?
Oh gosh. I actually saw this meme yesterday, it made me laugh. It's a squirrel standing on top of a mountain and it's going, ah. It's like, I relate to that so much. Ah. I'm an extrovert. I like talking to people. I like being outside. I go for walks, but you know, it's weird because we're not supposed to like go with people. I have a roommate, thank goodness I have someone to talk to, but like um I personally have felt my own anxiety about like being at home. Like I want to be in my office space. I want to be doing my routine. It grounds me. It keeps me comfortable. And so finding a new routine and also like not having an external deadline, like the universities in this area are all closed, and the community college I teach at has like been like, give them the grade they have now. Like that's their grade. Like 3 out of 14 students are actually doing their homework right now. So like just adjusting myself and my expectations and like really understanding that clients' energy will also be low, and like maybe all we can do at this time is just hold each other and show up, and that's all. That's kind of what I've been working on because I have very high expectations for myself, and I'm like, okay, so now like we're gonna have this amazing session, and then I'm gonna go teach my class on Zoom, and everyone's gonna be there, and they're gonna want to do the work, and nobody wants to do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people have been telling me they're sleeping a lot more. A lot of people have been telling me they're eating a lot more. For my clients that have eating disorders, this is a really hard time. And
Mhm.
so I'm just trying to like hold space for myself and everyone else, and like, let's just be gentle with ourselves and each other. But also like, I really try to keep reminding myself this is not forever. And I've definitely got like a lot of resources. This is the time to like read all my books and do all my trainings, and you know, things will unfold as they happen. It's okay. I keep having to reassure myself it's okay. It's gonna work out. And then I go take a nap, and then I'm better. So,
Yes. It's
yeah,
okay. We can take naps. We don't have to be perfect, and we
yeah,
can adapt in the moment. Yeah.
yeah. That being said, like I was joking with someone. I was like, maybe I should start jogging. Like this is the time to get in shape. Like maybe I will, who knows, like maybe it'll be time to like start like a new routine that's like more healthy for me. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a session the other day where I had to switch over to telephone, and because the person's internet connection wasn't working. And I spent the entire session talking and pacing. And I got 5,000 steps on that call.
Oh, wow.
I was like,
Yeah,
this could work.
good work. Yeah, I've
If I
asked
have one of
people,
those a day.
yeah, like, I've asked people before if they would like to take walks with me while we're outside together, and I think that helps both of us.
Mhm.
Because sitting in the same, like I was laughing with my roommate, I was like, I'm facing the same direction for the past 2 weeks on this dining table. I need to like move this way, so now I see that direction, and then in 2 weeks I'll move that way. Because
Yes,
I
mix it up.
definitely switch it up.
Yeah. So we've talked about how we both had some experience with telehealth, but a lot of therapists and mental health professionals historically haven't been, and this transition has been stressful. I know you also have some expertise, and we've touched on this, but that mind body wellness.
Yeah.
And before we wrap up, I just wondered if you had any words of wisdom or tasty, juicy tips to share.
Um, I've been doing a lot of the 4-4-8 breathing. So you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, and breathe out for 8. I've been doing a lot of, okay, so deep breaths in, and on the exhale, name 4 things you see.
Mm.
Like those, like do one by one, and then 3 things you hear, and then 2 things you feel, and then 1 thing you smell. Kind of bringing them back to their surroundings right now. Um, One of the things that really helps clients who are panicking, it's such a weird thing, but if you do, what's 100 minus 7? And then you keep going, subtracting minus 7. By the time they get to like 50 something, they're kind of in their left brain and
Hmm.
they've forgotten what they were panicking about. And
Yeah.
so they'll like, sometimes I'll also do this game where I'll be like, okay, so take a deep breath, notice what is around you, close your eyes, name everything that was red.
Mhm.
And so by the end of doing all this, like one of my clients was like, I'm so relaxed right now. So that helps. I think getting up and just shaking. So like if you have like music that you can shake to for like an hour and a half, a colleague of mine does it, and his kids call it shaking medicine. They're like, Dad, you're in your office doing your shaking medicine. Like put on some frenetic music and shake it all out. and then like put on something like Three Little Birds and like just kind of sway gently. And it really feels like your whole composition has changed, and you're like, okay. Um, so movement is really important. And then I also do this thing where like I'll have people like close their eyes and like go up a mountain and tell me like that they're meeting someone really wise up there, and then tell me what the person said. And that tends to be really helpful because they're finding their own answers rather than me guiding them. They're like connecting within themselves. So yeah, those are some things.
Yeah, the wise person on the mountain is them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would encourage every therapist that's watching this to try that and see what wisdom they can bring through for themselves too.
Yeah, it'd be amazing who shows up and what they're saying to you. You're like, oh, uh-huh.
Yes. Yes, I do that exercise sometimes and I love that one. But those are all really great tips for us to not only use with ourselves, but to use with our clients as well.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I've also been hearing like doing this, like sort of like tapping on either side of the brain. Yeah. Resets it, sort of puts it right in the middle.
Nice.
And if you're really stressing, pulling your hair like that
Hmm.
really helps release energy that's like stuck.
Oh yeah, that felt good.
Okay, we'll do a lot of that in the next few weeks.
Yes, I think I will be. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much for being on here and agreeing to do this, collaborate with me.
Thank you so much. This was really great. I really loved doing this, and I'm excited to see what everyone else says.
Oh yeah, there's so many wonderful people that are coming up too, and you included. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and stay safe from all the lightning, okay?
Oh, I will. I'm good. I'm in the moment right now. I'm fine. All right, so this is Therapist Supporting Therapist. Thank you everyone for watching. Please like or subscribe below. Bye.